Good morning and welcome to my kitchen. Today I've got two cracking recipes. We're going to do a crispy skin fillet of hake with a Vietnamese dressing and pickled cucumber, my favourite, and then a delicious creamy crab linguine. We're going to serve it up with some delicious beefsteak club wine. Okay, time to cook. Right, hake. It's a delicious fish, absolutely yummy. Let me grab a fillet for you and I'll show you what it looks like. So, hake, really underused fish, okay? Firm, white meat, nice and crispy. If you're gonna buy it, ask your fishmonger for the center cut. So you don't end up with the tail pieces, you get the nice juicy fillets. I mean, if you look at that, those fillets are perfect for what we're gonna do today. So, let me just wash my hands. Now, there's a little trick that some chefs have is to get a really good crispy skin, and it's actually to use a baking parchment. Have you seen this before, Emily?
I haven't actually.
So, non-stick pans are good, but there's a little bit of jeopardy involved in crispy skin, and this removes it. So all I need is a piece of parchment paper, okay? And we're gonna get a little bit of olive oil into the pan. Okay, put your parchment paper in, turn it over, and leave it there, all right? While we get our fish seasoned up and ready to go. So, a little bit of salt there, tiny bit of pepper, not a lot, because we don't want, you know, it's not a steak. And then just mop up your seasoning, okay? Now, this skin is already dry, and there's oil on the paper, okay? So we're just going to sit it on that paper and it will crisp up beautifully. I know it's not doing a lot because we just want to bring the heat up. Don't touch that fish. We're going to cook it, what, 3/4 of the way through on the skin side so it's lovely and crispy. Okay? Right, let's wash my hands. Okay, a little bit of coffee for Peter. Right, so first job we're going to do is our pickled cucumber. So we're going to do the dressing in a minute, which is a beautiful combination of soy sauce, lime juice, chili and mint. It's a standard dressing. I use it for loads of things. It's delicious. But just to sort of give some contrast and kind of bring things along, we're going to pickle some cucumber and some spring onions together and it'll be really good. So take your cucumber and cut it down the middle. All right, and then we're going to grab a teaspoon and then just remove the seeds like so, yeah? So just scoop them out. It's far easier than using a knife, all right?
Is that just because the seeds hold so much water?
Absolutely, full of water, and it just reduces the flavour and it makes the cucumber soggy instead of crunchy and tangy, which is what we're trying to achieve. You can get this done the night before. Now, the longer you pickle it, the more tangy they become. So I tend to do it while the fish is cooking because I like a bit of crunch, a little bit of crispness rather than just tangy pickled cucumber. Okay? So, take your knife and just like 1/2 centimetre slices. Don't cut them too thin because you want crunch, okay?
And why does cucumber work best for this? What is it?
I just think it's nice and clean and crunchy because the soy sauce, the Vietnamese dressing that we're doing is quite sort of punchy.
Yeah.
And I think just to have that nice contrast. And I think when you're doing sort of Asian style food, everything has a bit of sort of balance and contrast, and then you end up with, you know, hot, sour, spicy, tangy, crispy. And I think a good dish is all of those things.
Yeah.
You know, it's got richness, it's got depth, it's got tangy, it's got salty, it's a bit of heat. So we'll take a little bit of white wine vinegar, maybe a couple of tablespoons. That'll do. Any kind of white vinegar, don't use red because it'll colour it. Don't use balsamic, don't use malt. And that will just pickle that down a little bit. A little sprinkle of salt, that'll help draw a little bit of moisture out. And then we'll grab some spring onions as well. So I'm going to go with half a bunch. So we're going to slice them on an angle. And we're going to use the white and the green. Okay. Now, if you've got any questions, make sure you post them in the comments below. And if you want the recipes, make sure that you type free book in the comments down the side. Follow the instructions. It'll launch into Facebook Messenger and you'll be able to get the PDF recipe ebook that Emily's designed for the series. And we're doing this series in partnership with Beefsteak Club, which is a lovely brand of wines, some beautiful ones. I'm going to tell you in a minute which wine works with this dish. It's always the question, isn't it? What wine should I serve with this? And I think with spicy food, everyone's a little bit unsure, aren't they, on what's the best wine to serve it with. But I've got a cracker of a wine to go with this today. Right, got our spring onions, got our cucumber. We'll leave that to one side. Let's just have a quick wipe down. Okay, time to make this dressing. So it's a Vietnamese style and it's very much lime juice and soy, equal amounts together, make for an amazing salty and sour dressing. So if I put that bowl there, I've got my lime. Just roll your lime and it kind of softens it, breaks it down a little bit, makes it easier to get all the juice out. Cut it in half and then squeeze your lime juice in. And then my top tip for this, turn your lime inside out. Okay? And then squeeze again and you get more juice. Okay? You want to get every bit out that you can. I love lime juice.
So why would you use lime juice over lemon juice in something like this?
Doesn't work lemon juice with this. Don't know why. Lime.
Lime seems to be a bit softer, don't they? They have a softer acidity, I think.
Oh, I love limes.
Yeah.
I like cooking with acidity and citrus anyway. I would probably say I use citrus loads.
Yeah. It's quite refreshing to have it, isn't it?
Yeah. So while we've just got lime juice in there, let's get our red chilli in. So this is quite a good size red chilli, which to me suggests it's not going to be very hot.
So the more the smaller they are, the more heat.
Seems to be, yeah. And obviously green chilies are a bit more aggressive, in my opinion. Right. They're a bit harsher.
Yeah.
Like red chili, fresh red chili like this is quite fruity. Yeah. With a bit of warmth.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to chop them into matchsticks, turn them round, and then just run your knife through. So you've got nice little flecks of red chilli running all the way through.
And I suppose this would probably work better it being fresh rather than the dried chilli flakes.
Yeah, I think so. But if that's all you've got, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to whack these straight into the lime juice. And they'll almost pickle a little bit as well, actually, which will be nice. This is really good on its own. If you've got some spare limes and chilies, pickle them in lime juice and then just scatter them on things. It's amazing. Right, light soy sauce. Dark soy sauce is pretty ballsy and dark and rich. And if you're not careful, everything becomes a little bit too salty. Whereas with a light soy sauce, it works really well for a light food like hake, if that makes sense. So you want it you want that balance, and you've got to taste it at this point to know if you need to add more lime or more soy. And it wants to be as salty as it is tangy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bit like when you're tasting salad dressings, you just want you're trying to find the sweet spot.
Yeah.
My sweet spot might be slightly different to yours, which is why you need to taste it.
Kind of want that light, refreshing dressing, don't you?
Right, I want you to try this, Emily. Before we're going to add the fragrance to it in a minute, but if you taste it, then you'll understand the reference point that I'm trying to create. So when you try it and you're like, That's salty, that's tangy. It's clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, bit of warmth. Okay, now we're going to add fragrance to that. Fresh mint. Not normally something you might use in Asian cookery, but actually in Vietnamese food, it's really popular.
And is there only kind of slight differences, like you say, like things like adding the mint would kind of make it a bit more Vietnamese than it?
Yeah, Vietnamese use a lot of mint.
Yeah.
Thai tend to use Thai basil, things like that. You know, coriander works well, but I think mint is better with this.
Yeah.
It's really,
Again,
really
it's
good.
Quite refreshing type of herb, isn't it?
It's fragrant, yeah, and it just, I mean, once you've mastered this dressing, you'll be using it all the time. It's really good. I'm going to put a couple of spring onions in because I've got them. So I'm just going to chop those nice and fine. All the white, all the green. Chuck it in. And that'll give us a sort of a bit more of a savoury hit. Let's just turn that fish up. Can you see the fish cooking, Emily? If I turn that round, you can see that sort of white, that's the calcium coming out of the fish.
Right.
I still haven't turned it. I haven't touched it. It's going to be okay. Now, obviously, if you're cooking more than one piece of fish, which I'm sure you will be, you just need to be aware you need, you know, a bigger piece of parchment paper, 2 or 3 pieces in there, and just find the right pan for the right job. So if you're cooking 4 portions, make sure you've got plenty of space, like in a pan like this. All 4 pieces of fish, same size, even temperature, just cooking nice and gently. Okay, right, I'm not going to stir that until we're ready to go, because I don't want it to wilt. But what I'm going to do is take the last of my spring onions, I'm going to chop them in half, just get them the right size, and then we're just going to cut them long ways like that, so that we've got a little bit of crunch that we can garnish up the dish when it's finished. So just be really careful, cut them long ways, and then turn that up a little bit.
So will this dressing keep in the fridge, or is it?
It keeps really well until you add the mint.
Yeah.
So if you're going to keep it, that's a really good point, Emily. If you're going to keep it or make more than you need, don't put the mint in. Just put the mint in as you use it, because it tends to oxidize and go a bit sort of black and sludgy, whereas just lime juice and soy and chili will sit in a jam jar in the fridge for ages, and you could use it with like leftover roast chicken, just spoon it over some noodles if you want something light. You know, works really well with salmon, pork. It's delicious, really, really good. Right, so I've got some nice strands there of spring onion that we can kind of dress it a little bit if we want. We've got our pickled cucumber, so that's just sat in a little bit of vinegar there ready, and we have got our dressing, and we are almost ready to turn this fish over. Okay, so
And even though you put that parchment paper in, you can kind of still hear the crackle that you would get when you're frying a piece of fish with.
yeah. I mean, that piece of parchment just gives us, it's like a safety net.
Yeah.
You know? And parchment paper doesn't burn in the pan. It's putting a barrier between the frying pan and the fish. It's just, it means that we 100% know it's going to be okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a little look. So if I lift it out of the pan and then just pop your palette knife underneath, and we can have a little look. You see how the skin is just crisping up lovely there? No problem. I'm going to pop that back in for 1 more minute, and then we're going to turn it over. And then we're ready to go. Okay? So, I'm going to serve it up on that. So we'll take some of our pickled cucumber and spring onion, and we'll just sit that there. That'll just sit there nicely. So if you've got a few people for dinner, get all that ready. Done. Okay? Put that to one side. Okay, let's lift this bad boy out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my palette knife underneath. I'm ready to put the pan. I've left the heat on the pan. Now, I want a little richness, okay? Because I can afford it in this. With no cream, with none of that. So I've got a little bit of butter there. Okay, I know you like your butter, Emily.
Yeah.
Let's turn it over, put our butter in. Because this isn't an everyday dish. This is a little bit of a treat. Get that fish in that lovely foaming butter. Look at that.
Nice.
Lovely. Regardless of what you cook, this is a great way to cook fish. A great way.
And do you use that same technique with any type of fish?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. And when I do sort of private dining and things like that, it is a great way to serve a beautiful fillet of fish. Gives you complete control. Shall I pop this on here?
Yeah, you can do.
Yeah? So we'll put our fillet of hake. And it's not a particularly expensive cut of fish. It's a very underused cut of fish in this country. So now we mix our mint and our soy, lime, spring onion. So what we've got is this lovely dressing now. So I'm just going to pop this on top because I want all that lovely flavour. And then we grab some of the mint and the chilli and the spring onion and we sit that on top as well. Okay, so we've got bags of flavour. And then we've got our little shreds of spring onion, because we had them left anyway. And there you go. That is how to cook a beautiful Vietnamese fillet of hake with pickled cucumber and a Vietnamese dressing. Now, we talked wine earlier. Got the perfect wine to serve with this fish. It is a Malbec Rosé, okay? So it comes from Beefsteak Club. It's absolutely delicious. It's clean, it's crisp, it's fruity. And it works really well with spiced food. It's just going to be the perfect accompaniment. So if you're looking for that wine to go with a nice spicy dish, give this one a go. So if you want the recipe, put free book in the comments under this video and it'll launch into Facebook Messenger. Follow the instructions and we'll automatically deliver you a PDF ebook. It's got all the most amazing recipes that we've created with our friends from Beefsteak Club. You will absolutely love it. Okay, it's time to make a delicious crab linguine. This will blow your mind. It's so delicious. Let's get the pasta on first. Great thing about this recipe, 10 minutes done. Pasta will take 9 minutes to cook. Don't know why I'm doing that. That's 5. 9 minutes to cook. And in that time, you will be ready to go. So, salted boiling water, okay?
As salty as the sea.
As salty as seawater, Emily. Well done. So, I've got linguine, and the best way to describe linguine is flat spaghetti. All right? If you've only got spaghetti, that's absolutely fine. But this stuff, I don't know whether you can see, how close you can see on this, Emily, but it's actually bronzed, this. So when the spaghetti's made, it is then sort of ruffled up so that it's got a bit of texture. It's not really shiny and smooth. It's got texture. So we'll put that in. 9 minutes and that is ready to go. I'm going to move that over so that we can look at our sauce. So let's pop that one on there. Right, let's get a pan on the heat. Now, it's quite simple, this dish. I've got some crab meat, okay? So this is already picked and pasteurised, so it's perfect for this recipe, okay? So it's all sealed up. It's all picked and ready to go.
What? Because it's brown meat and white meat.
You get brown and white meat. So the claw meat is generally white, and the brown meat comes from sort of the body of the crab, is sweeter, I think, but less texture. It's quite soft.
Right.
So if like that bit there's come from the leg.
Yeah.
The claw, sorry. And it's crab's delicious. If you've never had it, try it. It is delish. And we're going to serve that up with some lemon, some garlic, a little bit of chili oil and butter, a bit of parmesan. It's going to be good. So first of all, let's get some garlic in the pan. Okay? Okay, so 2 cloves. Back of your knife and just crack the garlic. We're just going to get some good flavours going on here. The key to this as well is is to not put the crab in until the very last minute, because you don't want to, it's not the cheapest ingredient. It's not megabucks. And around the world, like over in America, crab's way cheaper than it is in the UK. It's very much a summer product. I wouldn't be buying it in the winter unless you're buying the canned pasteurized version. But like East Coast America, they eat it all the time. They have loads of it. So depending on where you are in the world. Okay, so I've got my garlic. Right, let's get a little bit of chili oil in. So I'm going to use chili oil instead of chili today. So a couple of tablespoons of chili oil. And then in with our garlic. Just drop that down. And then I've got the zest of 2 lemons, and we'll also do some juice. But let's just move that around.
It's quite a fresh dish with this lemon.
Yeah. You want to get, crab is sweet, and the butter, you've got richness, you see. So you want to kind of make sure that you get that nice balance. So we're going to get our butter in, and we're going to make our sauce. So that's our butter. So that's about 70 grams of butter there. You're having a little heart attack there, aren't you, Emily?
Just a little bit.
Freaking you out a little bit?
Yeah, but I know it'll taste good.
Yeah, it will. Do you like crab?
Yeah, for the few times I've had it, I know I've cooked a few live ones in the past. But I do like. There's a lot of hard work to get the meat out, but
There is.
It's really good. It's a nice
But you went to the shop to get this for me, and actually it's quite accessible now, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So it's not too bad.
They had a few different variations.
Yeah.
They had like the mixed white and brown,
Yeah.
and then I had that one. And it's not as expensive as I thought it was going to be, because there's obviously a lot of labour that goes into getting it out of the shell.
There is. There is. Right. So butter, lemon juice, garlic, and chili oil in there. Okay. And I've got that on a medium heat. Now I'm just going to steal some water out of my pasta pot. So if I show you that, Emily, can you see inside the ladle there? It's not sort of clear water, it's a bit cloudy. And that's because it's got starch in it. And when I add the starch water to the butter, you've got fat and water, and that becomes an emulsion. And it works really well together to make a sauce. So we'll just whisk that together, just stir it together like that. And then we'll just get our last few ingredients. So I've got some fresh basil, which works really well with the sweetness of the crab. So I'm just going to pick a few leaves, pick the best ones. Always with basil as well, you don't really want to pick it until you're almost ready to go. Keep basil as fresh as possible.
Quite a delicate herb, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't take much for it to sort of oxidize. So it's worth just going through and picking the good bits. There we go, some nice fresh basil. Right, so let's just prepare this. So I'm going to roll this basil up, and then we're really gently just going to use the sharpness of the knife, not the weight of it, and cut through the basil. So really gently, because otherwise, if you chop it, you'll bruise it. But if you slice it, it'll keep much longer, and you get the real benefit of fresh basil. Okay. Ready with our lemon juice. Let's get rid of our pips. Right. And then I've got some Parmesan cheese. So the only thing that needs adding now is our lemon juice, our basil, our Parmesan, crab meat, and our linguine. So it's super easy. So I'll just check this pasta. The only way to check
It's the taste.
is to taste. Not yet. Do you see how that's reduced down, Emily?
Yeah.
Now we've got a sauce, okay? And all we've got in there is oil, butter, garlic, pasta water, a bit of lemon zest. So that's looking really, really good. Really good. And we don't need to season this sauce because we've got pasta water that's salted, and that's why we need to use salt in our pasta water, okay? So we're going to serve this up with a Sauvignon Blanc. My good friends at Beefsteak Club, I said I would do a series this summer and match up some recipes and wines. And I've gone with the Sauvignon Blanc for this. It's crisp, it's clean, perfect for a crab linguine in the summer. Okay, pasta has cooked for 9 minutes. Lift it straight out. Don't put it through a colander. Use a decent sized pair of tongs and just push it to one side. We don't need to mix it yet. Okay. So let's just pop that, I'll get rid of this pasta out of the way. Now, see that little sauce area that we've got there? Let's just pop our crab into there. Don't stir anything yet. Let's pop our basil in and just leave that there. And then in with our parmesan. Don't be tempted to stir anything yet, all right?
I know, I really want you to stir it.
No, not yet. We're not doing it yet. Okay. And then a squeeze of lemon juice just to counter that butter that's in there. Just squeeze it through your hand. I'll catch any pips. So we've got butter, we've got lemon juice, a little bit of chili oil in there. Everything just needs a little sprinkle of black pepper. And that's it. We're ready to go. All right. So if I just start to stir this now, see, I'm not using an implement yet. I'm just trying to get all the flavours coming together. Right, now I'm going to go in with my tongs and just see how creamy it's looking, Emily.
Yeah.
And we've not added cream.
Is that just the starch water?
That's the starch water. It's the emulsion. So it's a lovely way of making something creamy without cream. Obviously, butter comes from cream, which is why it becomes creamy. But it's just that emulsion of the salty, starchy water, the butter, the lemon juice, and it just kind of coats the crab meat, which is sweet. And then you've got a little bit of fragrance from the basil. Am I right to serve up?
You jolly well.
Right. This is such a classic, delicious pasta dish. Such a treat, this. See, you won't want to go to an Italian restaurant. If you can make this, look, there we go. Put that to one side. You know it needs a little bit more parmesan. Look at that. To me, that's such an elegant dish.
But so simple to make.
So simple, so elegant. Okay, so I'm going to serve up this crab dish with the Sauvignon Blanc. It is crisp, it is clean, slight acidity. It's going to cut the richness of the butter. It's going to be delicious. Make sure next time you're in the supermarket, get yourself down to the wine aisle and check this one out. But this crab linguine is going to be delish. I know you're going to want to try this, aren't you, Emily?
Oh, yes.
I thought you might. I'm going in first.
It smells so good.
I'll get you a good bit of crab meat there.
Oh, thanks.
Carlos is going to want this too. You're lucky. You get to eat off camera.
I know, it's great.
There you go.
Oh my goodness me.
Switch your microphone
I've got
off.
to say, the microphone will have to be
I'm
turned
going to
on.
have a little taste of this. Oh. Pete done good. Sorry.
Oh, that is heaven.
That is a delicious recipe with a blooming gorgeous wine. If you want the recipe, type free book in the comments, follow the instructions in Facebook Messenger. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon.